I am Groot. Grogu. I am Groot. Grogu. I am Groot. I am Kendra, the Vampire Slayer. Hello and happy Friday, TGIF, all you Star Wars and Mandalorian fans. It is another week and we are here for another spoiler recap of The Mandalorian. I don't know what that intro was that I did, but it was the first thing that came to mind when I was like, how should I intro this video? But yeah, so this episode is the penultimate episode, chapter 15. It is called The Believer. We are now one more episode away before The Mandalorian concludes its season 2. And my God, what a season, what a time to be a Star Wars fan, especially with the Disney announcement that came out yesterday, but that's not what we're here to talk about. So yeah, once again, as I said just a couple seconds ago, this is a spoiler-filled recap. So I will be talking full-on spoilers for chapter 15 of The Mandalorian. And so yeah, for this episode, like overall, I both enjoyed this episode and I was very disappointed by this episode. So this episode sees the return of one of my favorite directors, Rick Famuyiwa, and it also sees the return of Bill Burr, which also makes sense because Rick Famuyiwa directed the episode that Bill Burr's Miggs Mayfield's character was first introduced. And so if you remember from last week's episode, the Mandalorian wanted to break Miggs Mayfield out of prison because Miggs Mayfield, he was a former Imperial sharpshooter, and so because of that, he wanted to use whatever information that Mayfield would have regarding the Imperial forces to find Moff Gideon so he could get Grogu back. And so where I thought this episode would be a full-on prison break, it wasn't. They got him out of prison pretty easily. But again, just like with every episode, this is the Mandalorian, so there's always some type of mission that has to be completed in every episode. And so after they got Mayfield out of prison, what did they have to do? They had to go to a specific planet to be able to access an Imperial computer, more or less, to get the coordinates to Moff Gideon's ship. And as standalone issues go, this episode was pretty good. This episode has some great action where you had the Mandalorian standing on top of this huge like tanker while he was taking out these cool alien looking pirates. And again, it reminded me of a moment in season 5 of Buffy where Buffy was standing on top of an RV taking out all these hordes of the Knights of the Byzantium who were going after her sister Dawn. Again, things constantly remind me of Buffy. And that was a cool action scene, and you got to learn a little bit more backstory about Mayfield, and you got to see some pretty good acting from Bill Burr that he ended up having in one particular scene throughout this episode. I was like, oh, that's some real good acting right there. And on top of that, you got to see another rare moment where Pedro Pascal actually got to take off his helmet and you got to see his face. And this is something I definitely said earlier on in this season, especially after we got the reveal from Bo-Katan that him refusing to remove his helmet isn't a Mandalorian thing. It's a Mandalorian cult of zealots. And I was like, at a certain point, he's going to start to question his ideals and eventually he's going to start taking off his helmet more and more. You're going to actually get to see more of Pedro Pascal, maybe probably in season 3 or 4 as the show goes on. And I feel like this moment right here kind of solidifies my thinking for that, because I feel like the Mandalorian of season 1 would not have taken his helmet off in the way that he did in this episode. And so I thought that was a huge character moment. And not only just that, but then people got other people saw his face. Mayfield saw his face. Imperial troopers saw his face. And then I thought it was cool to just see our ragtag group of Boba Fett, Fenric, which I actually remember her name now, Cara Dune, and all of them worked together in this episode. Like, I thought all of those moments were cool. But the thing that I was disappointed with in this episode was, considering this is the penultimate episode, considering this is the episode before the season finale, I kind of felt like this episode left me feeling a little dry. Like, I wanted something that pushed the story way more than what this episode ended up doing. And yes, I understand that you had to have this episode for him to even find Moff Gideon in the first place. But to me, it felt like this episode would play better if it was the episode before the penultimate episode, as opposed to this being the penultimate episode. And granted, hindsight is 2020. Maybe after next week, and maybe next week's episode would be so epic, I'll look back on this episode and say, oh, this episode was great, this episode was needed. But especially if next week's episode is as short as these last couple of episodes of The Mandalorian have been, with the exception of the first episode, I just wanted more from this particular episode. Maybe getting to see more of Moff Gideon's plans with the child, getting to see more about the empire that he's trying to build. What's going to make him different from Emperor Palpatine? What is he trying to accomplish? What exactly does he need Grogu's blood for? Or just something. Like, I feel like, again, for this to be the penultimate episode, I feel like this episode shouldn't just have been another fetch quest. Like, I even just think about how the penultimate episode of last season went. You're just like, oh my God, like, this is how you do a penultimate episode. And then you're just really hyped for the season finale. And yeah, I'm still hyped for the season finale, but this episode, I don't know, it just left me feeling lukewarm for it to be the episode before the finale, especially considering after this, we're not getting The Mandalorian for basically like another year or two. But yeah, like I said, overall, I enjoyed the episode, but I was a little disappointed. So I would say, for me, as an episode itself, I would say it's a hit, but for this to be the episode before the season finale, I would say it broke even for me. But the question is, what did you guys think about this episode of The Mandalorian? I said you. What did you guys think of this episode of The Mandalorian? Did you feel the same way as me? Maybe you love this episode. Let me know down in the comment section below. Also, if you can't hit that thumbs up button and like this video, it really help out the channel. And if this is one of your first time checking out one of my videos, please check out the other videos on my channel. And if you like what you see, please subscribe for more and hit that bell notification button so you're alerted every single time I post a new video. And tell your friends, families, and neighbors about my channel to help me continue to grow. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.